Okay, don't get me wrong, I love the grandeur of a sprawling epic fantasy saga, series like The Wheel of Time, The Stormlight Archive, Malazan Book of the Fallen. Those are series that make fantasy fans drool, and I love that satisfaction of watching characters grow over the course of several books and slowly uncovering the mysteries of the world building and the magic systems. However, sometimes even the most veteran fantasy fans want a change of pace. And there is something uniquely satisfying about a standalone fantasy novel. And these are books that are perfect to read if you're just wanting a break from whatever other series you're reading and you just want something quick without a big commitment. And I'm gonna be recommending 15 of my favorite standalone fantasy books. But before I get into the recommendations, real quick, we have been blessed with a sponsor. This video is sponsored by Magic Spoon. Introducing Magic Spoon. I have finally found a breakfast option that's gluten-free and that has high protein and zero sugar, and that tastes delicious. It's Saturday morning cartoon inspired, but upgraded for the 21st century. The cereals have 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and 4 to 5 net grams of carbs in each serving. Only 140 calories per serving, they're also keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, and soy-free. As someone who eats gluten-free, it can be really difficult finding a breakfast option that is exciting and tastes great, and Magic Spoon fits the bill. This is the second time they've sponsored the channel, and I'm always so excited to open up the package and see what flavors they sent me. This time, they sent me blueberry muffin, cinnamon roll, birthday cake, and maple waffle. All of which are delicious. My favorite is the blueberry muffin. It's fueling, it's got no artificial flavors, and it's perfect for those on a low-carb lifestyle. Click the link below to try these delicious flavors. And be sure to use my promo code CapturedInWords at checkout to get $5 off any order, or go to magicspoon.com/capturedinwords. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, they're backed by a 100% happiness guarantee. So if for some reason you don't like the product, you can refund it and get your money back, no questions asked. So click the link below or scan the QR code on the screen and use the promo code CapturedInWords for $5 off, or go to magicspoon.com/capturedinwords. And thank you to Magic Spoon for sponsoring the video. Okay, if you're looking for a cozy fantasy book that doesn't have that much action in it, but is still incredibly interesting and compelling, The Goblin Emperor by Katherine Addison. This is such a great book. Honestly, I feel like it is very underrated. I don't see that many people talking about it. I would highly recommend the audiobook actually, because the narrator does a great job with all the voices. The story follows Maya, the half-goblin son of the Elvish Emperor, who has lived his entire life in exile, and when his entire family is accidentally killed, assassinated, Maya must become emperor and navigate the imperial court, and there's just so much interesting court politics going on and backstabbing and all kinds of stuff. It is filled with deadly intrigue, and Maya, or Maya, I think they are such a great character to read. They're filled with compassion, and just a lot of people would end up being cynical being put in their position, but Maya is just such a heartwarming character. This book is sophisticated, it's filled with political intrigue and court intrigue, it has some steampunk technology in there and some dark magic, and it's a really fantastic book that I don't see many people talking about. If you happen to be a fan of the 1987 adaptation of The Princess Bride, which is an absolute classic, if you haven't watched it, you definitely should, but you should also give the book a chance as well. I have met so many people that are fans of the movie, but have never given the book a chance, and the book just gives you so much more details and depth to the story and the characters, and honestly, I don't know which version I like better, because I mean, the movie is a classic. I love the movie adaptation. I love the book as well. There's just so much to love here. William Goldman seamlessly blends fantasy, adventure, and romance all into one package. And the characters, whether it's Wesley, Buttercup, Inigo Montoya, they're all so charming and memorable. This is a book that's filled with clever dialogue and satirical commentary on like fairy tale tropes. And it's just so charming and cozy. And I'm probably going on too much about this one, but if you haven't read it yet, you should definitely read it. We're gonna be heading into winter soon, and a perfect winter read that I would recommend is Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. Now, I wasn't actually the biggest fan of Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I did put that in my autumn recommendations video because it is perfect for the autumn time. But I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as Spinning Silver. This one is a perfect read for a chilly winter night. If you haven't read anything by Naomi Novik, this would be my top recommendation. The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Just in concept alone of a circus that arrives without warning and then mysteriously vanishes is just so iconic. And then, you know, we have a magical competition between two young illusionists. This book is very charming. It's a cozy book to read, especially around this time of year in the fall. It paints a vivid picture of the circus, of its enchanting performances. Her writing style stands out. It's very lyrical and poetic, so if that's something you enjoy, then I would definitely recommend this book. Tigana is an extremely well-written book. I think this is one of the best entry points to Guy Gavriel Kay. His books are just incredibly well-written. I do love the characters in this one, though a few of them do kind of fall flat a bit. In Tigana, basically a dark sorcerer not only curses the land to destroy Tigana, but also erase any record of it, to destroy its history and the memory of its people. However, a group rises up to fight back and restore the memory of Tigana and restore the country. In a few places, it kind of slows down and drags a little bit, but then the ending makes up for all of it. It ties everything together so nicely. I love how Guy Gavriel Kay develops these different cultures in his books and how this one is kind of inspired by Renaissance Italy. It's one of the things I find the most fascinating about his novels, and I really want to read more. If you have not read anything by Guy Gavriel Kay, I urge you to give his books a chance because he is a phenomenal writer, and I think there's a lot of you in my audience that are going to really enjoy his books because I am enjoying them so far and I can't wait to read more. Okay, you may have seen this coming if you've watched any of my videos, but yes, I am gonna recommend some Brandon Sanderson. He has written some really fantastic standalones that I think are not only a great way to be introduced to Brando Sando, but are also a great way to be introduced to his universe known as the Cosmere. The Cosmere is not a cult, I swear, but you should join us. I'm not going to recommend every Sanderson standalone novel. I was tempted to, but I won't. I do have some self-control left. Elantris is a really great standalone. It's one I really enjoyed, but many people find it to be a weaker Sanderson book. It was his debut after all. Warbreaker is another really great novel with an incredible magic system. And for a quick novella, The Emperor's Soul is by far one of my favorites. Brando Smitherson really delivers such a satisfying story with that one. Okay, I need to stop because I'm already recommending all of his books, but if I had to pick just one Sanderland standalone novel, I would have to go with Tress of the Emerald Sea. It's a whimsical seafaring or sporefaring adventure, and the narrator's voice is really entertaining. It offers a really unique writing style that just sets it apart from any other work. And while it does have many other Cosmere references, none of that is needed to enjoy the story, so it works great for beginners to the Cosmere. I have a full spoiler-free review video if you want to learn more. Next up is Witch King by Martha Wells, and I actually have a giveaway running for this book over on my Patreon, so if you want to join, you just have to become a Patreon member, and you have to vote on the poll, and then you can join the giveaway. Anyways, this is a really fantastic standalone novel. It was a recent read for me. It does kind of slow down in some parts, but overall, I enjoyed it a lot. The beginning especially just had me so hooked, and Martha Wells, who is the author of the Murderbot Diaries, she manages to just pack so much into this book. The protagonist is this brooding, powerful wizard that I just found to be so compelling and interesting, and right at the very beginning, Kai is disembodied, like he's dead. He's stuck in a water prison, and there's a mage that's trying to harness his powers, and then suddenly, you know, he wakes up, he jumps into a different body, he takes care of the mage, and tries to find out who assassinated him. Such a great hook for a story, I gotta say. But yeah, like I said, it does slow down a little bit, but then it picks up again. Overall, though, I did really enjoy this one, and I think it's a great standalone. Next up, we have a king of fantasy standalones, and that is Neil Gaiman. He has written so many incredible standalones. I really enjoyed Norse mythology, so I would definitely recommend that. If you're at all interested in Norse mythology, I think that Gaiman tackles it really well. I would also recommend Stardust for those that are looking for like an adult fairy tale. This one I just thought was so fun. It was so charming. The movie adaptation I thought was also pretty good as well. And then Neverwhere. I love the entire idea of this underground world beneath London, this entire This entire world of just odd, quirky characters. Such an amazing book, but there's many more books that I need to read by Neil Gaiman. Give me your recommendations in the comments, because I know there's some fantastic books out there that I just haven't gotten around to yet. I really want to read Good Omens soon, and Coraline. I've never read Coraline. Okay, we need to talk about Perdido Street Station by China Miéville, because it is probably the weirdest book that I've ever read, and I'm always finding myself thinking about it. And I want more people to read it, because it is such a bizarre experience in the best of ways. Perdido Street Station by China Miéville. This is an immersive and dark piece of fiction that takes readers to the sprawling and bizarre city of New Crobuzon, or Crobuzon. A city where magic and science coexist. It's a grotesque steampunk junkyard, and it's beautiful. And it's peopled by an extraordinarily diverse variety of humans and semi-human mutants and other hybrid creatures. And the novel explores the relationships between these different groups, and it touches on classism and racism and all that stuff. This is a book that really explores a lot of deep and thought-provoking themes. And it's a really, really unique book. Probably one of the most unique books that I've read. Now, how could I mention my favorite fantasy standalones without mentioning The Hobbit by Tolkien? I love this book so much. My sister and brother-in-law got this for my birthday. I think I was in grade 6 or 7, and I read it and reread it, and it was one of the reasons I got back into reading, and for a while I tried to read it every year or every few years, and it is just such a fantastic book that I still think holds up so well. Sometimes you just need to read some classic Tolkien. It is so cozy, it is so nostalgic, and his descriptions of nature and food in this book are just so great, and it's one of my favorite books to read in the fall as well. Next up, we have Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. This one was one of my favorite reads this year. It made it onto my top 10 fantasy books video, and I know it's not going to be for everyone though. It is a very strange and atmospheric book. It's very low on action, it's a bit slower paced, but for those that just love a strongly atmospheric book that is a blend of magical realism, then I think you're going to enjoy this one. Piranesi lives in this extraordinary labyrinth in a place called the House, which is a world of infinite rooms and endless corridors where an ocean lives within its walls, where the ever-changing tides flood the corridors. Piranesi is helping the other search for the great and secret knowledge, whatever that is. But as he continues to explore, he realizes there's a lot more going on, and he eventually discovers the true nature of the house and himself. It is such a mysterious book, and I will say the twist wasn't as much of a twist as I was expecting, because I kind of saw it coming from a long way, but it's still just such a great book. The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wong. I cannot believe this book sat on my shelf for so long. If only I knew what I was missing out on. A mother struggling to repress her violent past, a son struggling to grasp his violent future, a father blind to the danger that threatens them all. The Sword of Kaigen is a Japanese-inspired military fantasy. It is such a beautiful book that's very character-focused, and there is so much escalating tension and just amazing character development here. The pacing is really good as well, to the point where you just don't want to put this book down. It is a brilliant and heartbreaking journey, and honestly one of the best standalones I've ever read. I would say it's a must-read for any fantasy fan. Now, you may have heard of the wonderful Discworld series by Terry Pratchett, and yes, you're probably thinking, that is a 41-book series. Why is this guy recommending it in a standalone fantasy video? Here's the thing, many of the Discworld books can actually be enjoyed as standalone novels. Actually, you can pick up the majority of them and just read them on their own, and you will have a great time. However, there is specifically a few books that are perfect as standalones. But there is one in particular that I think works so well as a standalone novel that I would recommend it to most people, and that is Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. This was actually a recent read for me, and it was so good. This is one of my favorite Discworld novels ever. Small Gods is a totally unique standalone Discworld novel. You can read it before any other book in the series, and you can just leave it at that if you want. You'll be reading one of the smartest and best books by Pratchett. However, I hope that it will also encourage you to just explore the series more and read more of these books, because Terry Pratchett is honestly a genius. If you just want to read one Discworld book to see if you like it, I would highly recommend checking out Small Gods. And those are my top 15 fantasy standalone books as of 2023. I know there is so many that I just haven't read yet, so leave me all of your recommendations in the comments, and I'll definitely make an updated video in the future. Hopefully I'll get a bunch of those books under my belt so that I can recommend them to more people. And anyways, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to join my Patreon if you want to support the channel.